Hello again, precious friends. Thanks for joining me once again in Chef Patty's kitchen on the Carnivore Hippie. Today what we're going to do is salmon yogurt mousse. Remember just recently we did a sort of a dessert thing, the take on fluffy yogurt that I came up with, the orange yogurt mousse, and I said, you know, you can do this in any flavor, and you can. I discovered that this was such a good match with smoked salmon, and I did a test run. It was so good. I thought you all might like a chance to do this yourselves. So I tweaked the recipe a little bit and fussed with it a little bit, and I think you are really gonna like this one. So let's get started. Okay friends, so step number one, we have 2 teaspoons of lemon juice and a teaspoon of water. If you like a real strong lemon flavor, you can use just a tablespoon of lemon juice. And half a teaspoon of gelatin powder, unflavored, please. And we're gonna just sprinkle this as evenly as we can on top. This is the way all yogurt mousses start, at least mine anyway. And once that is all sprinkled on there, we are going to set this aside and for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's going to bloom. All right, and then we will go on from there. So here, precious friends, next thing we're going to do is we got 100 grams of smoked salmon right here, and we're going to process it, and we're going to cube some of it, and we're going to like pate some of it. So this is the stuff we're going to cube it, very small cube. It's already sliced, so we're just going to lay it out. That one's already in a strip, so put that one aside. So we're going to cut this stack into strips. Now we have all the strips lined up going the right way. We're just going to cut through them going this way. There we go. So we're going to cut half of it into little uniform chunks, and the other half we're going to process into a pate to mix with our yogurt mousse. And we're just going to take this, doesn't matter how this is stacked up, you just roll it up into a ball and chop it this way. This doesn't have to be neat because we're going to mash it all up anyway. And then go this way. Scrape it all up into a ball, and then we're gonna just give it a little bit more, just get it as fine as we can with the blade of the knife. And we've got pretty well minced. You could just stop here, but I think our pate, our salmon mousse is going to be so much prettier if we just take that one extra little step. And the one extra little step is, we talked about frisage with the garlic in my chicken tandoori video, and we're going to frisage this salmon. If you'll recall, you hold the flat of the blade parallel to the board, take a tiny bite with the edge of your blade, press down against the board, and draw back. If the see, the board is a little slick. Okay, so if the board is a little slick and the stuff just scoots around, then what you do is you get another little cutting board that has a little bit more texture. And this cutting board has a very fine crosshatch texture on it, so that's going to help. Another thing you can do is you can just get it a little more finely diced as well. If you have a food chopper, like a small food processor that has a very small bowl, I don't happen to have one that has a small enough bowl, you can do this in that as well. But this is a very handy technique to know. So, there we go. You can see it breaking down now against the texture of the cutting board. Press down and scrape back. Sometimes when you have, when you're doing this with the knife, sometimes the blade of the knife can get hung up here or rather the handle of the knife can get hung up here and make it hard for you to press it down flat enough. So in that case, you just move your knife a little ways off to the side of the cutting board so that the bulb of the handle is hanging off the edge and you can get the knife blade pressed down real hard against the cutting surface, and that helps. Okay, there we go. And there we have our diced and pate salmon, and we can go on to the next step. So we're going to start again with our big bowl, and we have 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and we're just going to beat that as we did last time until we get soft peaks. There we go. And we're going to put our 1/2 cup of very thick Greek yogurt. Remember, we talked last time, if your Greek yogurt isn't very thick, go ahead and strain it again. Strain it some more for a couple of hours because this needs to be very thick. And we're going to whip this up too. Lovely and fluffy, just like we want it. Now we're going to set this aside. We're going to go back to our gelatin. We've got our gelatin here. So we're going to take this over to the microwave, and we are going to microwave it for about 10 seconds. You might be a little bit more, yours might be a little bit less. But don't walk away from it, friends. Do it 5 seconds at a time if you have to, because you really do not want this to boil. Okay, so here we are. It did take 10 seconds in my microwave. You'll figure out how much it takes to do your microwave. So it's pretty hot at this point. So again, we're going to set this aside and let it cool. And in the meantime, we're going to take care of the rest of our ingredients. We're going to season our whip here. have a pinch of salt. We're not going to put much in because our salmon is already salty. And we have here actually a pinch of allulose sweetener. Yes, I know that sounds weird, but you could leave it out if you don't like the idea. But trust me. We got between a half and a quarter teaspoon of dried dill, depending on how much you like. This is probably a pinch more than a quarter teaspoon. And here we have about a tablespoon of chopped chives or chopped green onions, whichever you happen to have. About a tablespoon. Whoops. You can use dried chives too, if you want to. Or you can leave this out, or you can just use regular onion, but I like the green color. Okay? And now we are going to take our lovely salmon Play-Doh and we're just going to break it up a little bit. We don't want it in a ball because we want this to blend in. I save that for later. Now we're going to whip this up. If you find you have trouble with the salmon bunching up, you can get in there and break it up with a fork before you whip it some more, if you need to. At this point, when I'm doing this, I find sometimes it's really helpful to pulse the whisk instead of, or the blender, instead of just running it. Okay. So our next ingredient is going to be a couple of grinds of black pepper. As I have said before, I like to grind my pepper fresh. Now we're just going to fold this. Make sure any big lumps of salmon are broken up, and that's good. And our gelatin is not quite cool enough yet, so while we continue to wait for that, I'm going to, once again, I'm going to oil a mold. This is my favorite avocado oil spray. No propellants, just air and oil. This little mold is just a decorative little plastic bowl that I bought at the party supply store. They come in stacks of like 10 for a couple of bucks, and I love them. They're very handy. Okay. I think this is cool enough now. Like I said last time, we don't want it cold because it'll start to solidify, but nor do we want it too warm because it'll deflate our mixture. So we want it just a little bit warmer than room temperature. And we're going to fold down into the middle, scoop it up and fold it over. Down into the middle, scoop it up and fold it over. That's how you fold. I'm sure we've gone over that before, but in case there's anybody new here, it bears repeating. Now that that is done, we are going to fold in our little salmon chunks. Just kind of sprinkle them in. Just kind of poke through it. Make sure you haven't got any big chunks anywhere. There you go. Now our last ingredient, the ingredient of mystery, is our baking soda. 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, remember. And we're just going to dust this. Oh, it seems the salmon has attracted an interloper in the form of my kitty cat. Now, we're folding very, very gently, but we have to distribute this evenly. And again, as we mix, the acid in the yogurt is going to react with the carbon dioxide, with the baking soda, and this is going to inflate. I don't know if you can see, I can already see that it is a lot bigger than it was. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to pack it into our mold. I think we might even have a little too much for this mold. But that's okay. We'll just put it in a different container. Press it into the sides of the mold so that it forces out air bubbles. We do have a little bit too much for this container. My goodness. All right, that's okay though. It all eats. I need my spatula. So, if you can see, all around the sides, I've made sure there's no air bubbles. Okay. Now we're going to just press down in the middle and press it out towards the sides. And I'm going to just scoop the excess off the top. When you're doing a mold like this, it's always better to overfill it to start with and then take the excess off. That's how you get an even mold. Don't worry, that won't go to waste. Now we're going to clean up the edges. You can do this with your finger, you can do it with a spatula. My opinion is whatever cooking you can do with your hands, you should do with your hands, because your hands are always with you. And it's really useful when you're learning to cook to learn what things are supposed to feel like. And if your hands are in it, then you cannot avoid learning what things feel like. Now, plastic wrap. Can you believe it? We're almost done already. Can you believe how easy this is? Press it down, make sure the plastic wrap adheres. And here it is, and we're going to put this in the refrigerator. This is going to have to refrigerate for about 3 hours. Okay? So here we go to the refrigerator, and we'll be back as soon as it's refrigerated, and then we'll unmold it, and I'll show you how I like to serve it. And you know, since we have a little bit left over, I thought we might as well do something cute and fun. So I got here two 2-ounce shot glasses. This is just a cute idea. Just a suggestion. And I have a pastry bag with a tip. You can also do this with no pastry tip, just with just cutting the end off the bag. Or you can do it in a zip top bag and just use the corner. If you do this with the zip top bag though, make sure you use the ones that are flat bottomed. If you use the pleated ones, they don't really work as well and you wind up with issues. But I buy disposable 12-inch piping bags. So I always have one around. So we're gonna open this up like this, right? And the easiest way to fill a piping bag is to take a tall glass like this. Let me show you this. If you want to use a piping bag, put the tip in, twist it like this, and shove it down in there so it doesn't come through, and then drop that down into the glass, and then fold the top of the bag over the glass, and it holds it right up for you, so you don't need 3 hands. And we'll just put that right down in there. Okay, and then just like that. And then you take the side of your hand and just smush it down into the tip like this till it starts to come out. There it is. And then just pleat this up with your hand. Give it a twist. See how it's coming out? And then put it down in here. There you go. Look at that. Now, just take this between your thumb and your palm like this. Just push down on it. This wasn't quite enough for 2, but that's okay. The first one was pretty. There we go. And to make them cute, I'm going to take a little wedge of lemon, stick it right down in the side there. And a little leaf. This is a celery leaf. You could use parsley. You could use a chive. You could use a piece of dill frond. But you know how I love cute food. Is that adorable? And you can serve that with a celery stick to dip it down out of, or just with a little tiny wooden spoon like a caviar spoon. Let's put a celery stick in it. Look at that. Wouldn't that be fun to serve as an hors d'oeuvre on a tray? I think that's just adorbs. So we're going to put this in the fridge too, and then we'll look at it later after it's set up. Here we are back again, friends. I've just gotten the salmon mousse out of the refrigerator, and now we're going to unmold it and serve it up, and then we're going to taste it, and it's going to be awesome. Let's go. So here we have our mold out of the refrigerator. And here we have a basin of warm water, and here we have a plate. Gonna take the plastic off, and we're going to very carefully dip our mold down into the warm water. I have it measured just so that it comes almost to the top of my mold. We're going to dip it in there for just a few seconds. We're going to try about 10 seconds. And to unmold, remember, we don't invert the mold onto the plate. We invert the plate onto the mold and flip the whole thing. And if it's been warm enough, it should come loose. Of course not. Oh, I think it's coming. Here we go. Come on. Okay, I think we need a persuader. So we're going to put the down into here and just get a little air pocket started. That's usually enough. Come on. Okay, this should be enough to convince you guys that I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. There we go. Oh, there we go. We got the air pocket started. Yay! There it goes. Awesome. Oops. There we go. That's pretty, if I do say so myself. Look at that, friends. Wouldn't that look lovely on a buffet? And of course, because, you know, I just can't let anything just be. Because I like cute food and I'm a garnish monkey, so we're just gonna put little things that I made. Just a couple of little gewgaws. And because everything looks a little bit better with a little bit of green on it. There we are, my friends. And you serve this with, oh, if you're keto, some celery sticks or some cucumber slices or some bell pepper strips. And here's our cute little ones. Can you imagine a whole tray of these at a cocktail party with little tiny spoons, like caviar spoons, like that. And or you could serve them with my famous carnivore chips. I will leave a link in the description down below as to how you can make these carnivore chips, completely carnivore. They're crisp and crunchy. Carnivore chips and dips, folks. Salmon mousse on a carnivore chip. Mmm. The smoked salmon. Excuse me. It's really rich with the smoke flavor and the yogurt and the salmon. It's a bat bomb, no question. But these little carnivore chips are the perfect texture. You want to do this, friends. With the holidays coming up, You could double or triple this recipe. It would still work just fine. Take this to a party. It'll knock their socks off. They'll be so impressed. Creamy, smoky, the tiniest bit sweet, but in an appropriate way for salmon. The herbalness of the dill and the onion and the tartness of the lemon, it just makes it perfect. Let me know if you make it. Let me know how it comes out. And I hope you enjoy it. I wish you peace, love, and meat. And I will talk to you again real soon.